Thank you very much for joining the Voice of Job Seekers Live. And my name is Mark Anthony Dyson. You just call me Mark. And of course, if you have any questions about what I do and where I am, you can go to the voiceofjobseekers.com. Today, I have a very special guest, and by chance, you all are meeting Melinda Emerson. She is known as a small business lady, and one of the things you should know is I put up the graphic here. She's probably one of the few people you'll know by her Twitter name, especially back in the day of early Twitter in the 2009 2010, where they begin to put up those suggestions of people you should follow. She is one of them. Let me give you a little bit more information. If you don't follow her on Twitter, you might be missing out on a whole lot of good stuff, especially about small business. She is also the CEO of Quintessential Group. She has about 3 million followers, right, across your social platforms. Is that about right? About
Yeah,
3 million now?
definitely. Like with between my email and all the people that subscribe to my blog and all the social media, yeah, it's about 3 million a week.
Yeah, yep. She's a former New York Times columnist. And by that, I say that as a writer, I'm not worthy because we all hope to get to that point. And she's been quoted in most major media outlets, Wall Street Journal, MSNBC, CNBC. There's too many for me to list. Welcome to the show, Melinda Emerson. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Well, thank you very much for accepting my invitation to come out. And um, I am doing a little bit more small business talk here on the Voice of Job Seekers because there's a lot of people who are really interested in the aspect and asking questions about being an independent contractor because those are the postings that they're beginning to see. Really, uh, anyway, job seekers should be treating themselves as a business. So therefore, I think it's very appropriate too. But uh, do you think that do you see that coming? Because I do see that in the sunset, that the new future of work is the 1099 W-2 contractor. I mean, everybody's going to work their regular job, but they're also going to have a business or at least be able to navigate that particular space. And I think your book might be a perfect uh, um, part of that. And I have a copy right here. But go ahead. I just want to get your idea on the fact that everybody's going to become a business, whether they like it or not.
Definitely, that's true. Even before the pandemic, we were seeing 43% of the workforce had some other hustle, right? So people
Hmm.
have always, sort of had sort of like that A hustle and B hustle. And then there are people who are full-time hustlers, and we also call them business owners, right? So I think that the future of work is going to be part and parcel. So you've got to figure out how you're going to position yourself because there's still big companies who hire people as contractors and not as full-time employees, or they hire them as sort of like part-time, a 30-hour a week employee, whereas you still need more work to get, what you need to get your health benefits and all this kind of stuff. So definitely I think everyone should treat themselves like a business, whether they are an entrepreneur inside a corporation or they are an actual entrepreneur on the outside, because I think the future of work is going to demand it, and you've got to be prepared, and you've got to know how to handle yourself as a business and as a 1099. So you definitely want to consider resources like my book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, because I do break down how to set up a business, how to treat yourself like a business, how to understand who your target customer is. And then if you're starting to hustle on the side, let's just say you're starting a little e-commerce business on the side, all of
Hmm.
that information is in there too. Figuring out who your customer is, how to build a social media brand, selling online, how to develop a sales process, like all of that stuff. You got to understand, whether you're starting, traditional, retail business or service business, or if you're going to be online with an e-commerce business, which by the way, I saw a statistic recently that said by 2040, 95% of all purchases will take place online. So no matter what you sell, you better be selling online. So I have all the information about how to do that in this book as well.
Yes, and if you're just joining us for the first time, Melinda Emerson has a new book out coming out today. It is out. Become Your Own Boss in 12 months. You definitely want to pick that up if you have an inkling or inclination that running a small business is going to be your thing. So, I think people have come to this because the pandemic and COVID-19 and for the unpredictability of the job market whenever we have a pandemic, whenever there's economic downturn, whenever there's a crisis, people look to their hobbies. They look to what they feel that maybe that this is the time that they may do it. For yourself, um, it wasn't particularly a downturn as much as it was, like a lot of people as well, a layoff and or just something that happens to trigger becoming a small business. That's not a bad motivation, is it? Because I know a lot of people feel differently about, you shouldn't do a small business just because you were laid off. I think sometimes that's the only choice that you have.
I think sometimes it is, but you have to be careful because there's a difference between doing something because you need some cash, right?
Yeah.
And then
Right.
building an actual business.
Hmm.
So I understand sort of like the in between. Like you're like, okay, do I need to go get another job or do I just kind of start a consulting practice or something? Or do I figure out, do I have a hobby I can turn into a business? Do I know something? Can I sell some of my knowledge? There's all kinds of different ways you can come to business, but you do have to make the decision because sometimes you just need to go get a new job.
Hmm.
Sometimes the answer is not, oh, let me go start this business. And let me tell you why. Because starting a business is hard, right? There is
Yes.
an upfront hazing process involved.
Yes.
And if you think you're going to start this business and all of a sudden it's going to throw off the kind of money you were making when you was getting a check every 2 weeks, honey,
Mhm,
no, that's not usually what happens. You really have to spend some time building up your clientele, figuring out what to charge, what people are willing to pay. And honestly,
mhm.
it takes 12 to 18 months on average just to break even. That
Yeah.
ain't you collecting a check every week. That's you covering the basic expenses of the business. So
Yeah.
that's why in my book, I talk about what I want people to do before they do anything is to
Mhm,
develop a life plan. You got to figure out what you want and why you want it. Because if you
mhm,
decide to jump out here and be a business owner, you are taking on 10 to 12 jobs at one time. And I want you to understand that any one of those can clothesline you on any given day. So you got to be clear that that's what you want to do. So I want you to think about what you want. And then I'm going to help you build a business so that you can live that way. That's really
mhm,
what I want people to do because a lot of times people start businesses that really don't work for their life and their lifestyle. So let's say you want to be a caterer. Let's say
mhm,
you want to specialize in weddings. Well, that means from April to like October, you're tying up most of your weekends. Well, if you
mhm,
have young kids that have like all kinds of sports activities and Saturday activities and stuff, okay, all of a sudden you're the absentee parent. Or if you're a single parent, then your kids are going to suffer, right? So you got to think through all of the aspects of your life and how this business is going to impact it. I've seen people start great businesses that they then hate, right? I know a
mhm,
woman who quit a good job in pharmaceutical to start a an ice cream franchise, and
mhm.
literally, I saw her about a year or two later at a kid's birthday party. Oh, how's your business going? And she looked at me with a scowl on her face and said, girl, I am back in corporate America, grateful to be there. I never should have started that business. I hate teenagers, and that's all who my employees were. And it was awful. I can't be a slave to anything, especially something that doesn't serve me. And I said to myself, baby, if you had thought through all of that before you quit your good six-figure job, like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? But this happens a lot. People jump out there, and part of it is because everybody wants to be a boss, right? Everybody
Right.
wants to be a boss. We got boss this, boss chicks, boss.
Mhm.
Okay, but then you actually got to go be one.
Mm,
right? And being a boss is hard. And then you got to think about your personality and what
mhm.
kind of employees are going to work based on your personality. And you know what I did? I actually created something called bossquiz.com
Oh,
because I saw this happen so many times. People start businesses that aren't good for their work style, for their values, for their
mhm.
leadership style. And so now I have a tool. It's a full assessment. It ain't one of these little silly marketing quizzes on the internet. It's a 15-minute quiz that's going to produce an 8 to 9 page report on you and what
Wow.
kind of business owner you are, and whether or not you'd be better suited for a franchise, or maybe you should buy an existing business, or if you're going to start a business, what kind of employees do you need to put around you. It'll even tell you how much sales skills you have, right?
Mhm.
This thing is really thorough. And I built it because I got so many questions like, small business lady, I want to start a business, but I don't know what kind of business to start. Or small business lady, I think I should go into this kind of business. And I'm talking to them going, you don't need to start that kind of business. But I can't tell people stuff like that, right? So I
Right.
actually got with some scientists. Like, this is their business. For 30 years, they have been evaluating entrepreneurship potential. And
Mhm.
they helped me build this thing called Boss Quiz. And it's really exciting because I wish 22 years ago I had taken this assessment, because there's
Mhm.
probably, I mean, sometimes it'll tell you you might be better with a business partner, depending on
Right.
how an introvert you are. It really is a thorough tool. And so I'm so excited and it's free right now. I'm making it free because the book just came out. So if
Right.
you go to bossquiz.com, you can take my quiz, you can figure out what's going to work for you, because what I want is for you to start your dream business, and then I'm going to help you live your best life as an entrepreneur. But you got to understand, it's hard. It's not easy. There's so many things you got to know. And that's why I wrote this book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, because I want everyone to benefit from all the expensive, hard learned lessons that I already learned. Been there, done
Mm.
that, got 2 t-shirts. So I wrote this book to save you. That's why I wrote it.
Yes. Well, I had to giggle when you said clothesline. I mean, I automatically thought of a wrestling move when that happened. But that's what surprises kind of looks like. It grabs you by the neck and you fall straight on your back because you're not prepared, or you
Right.
did something that was so much bigger than what it should have been. I mean, there could
Right.
be a lot of different reasons why, but I think that because of that, that's why people tend to lack the confidence to get into small business. And it does take a certain amount of confidence, but there's also that certain amount of fear. And for
Sure.
you, what was that mantra or that thing you did weekly, monthly, yearly that helped you to tarry and to push through?
Well, for one, a lot of times people feel fear because they don't have a plan. Like,
Hmm.
do not spend more time planning your vacation than like how you're going to support yourself and your family financially.
Right.
Develop a business plan, right?
Hmm.
You
Right.
don't need a 40-page manifesto, but you do need 10 good pages that's going to tell you what business you're in, who the competition is, what is your unique value proposition. See, that's the thing people mess up. They think, oh, everybody can use this. No, all small business owners have two problems: limited time and limited resources. So you need
Hmm.
to pick a marketing target that you can actually hit, right? So
Right.
that you got to really figure out who that niche target customer is, what their pain is, what their fears are, what their aspirations are. And then you
Hmm.
got to be the souls. You have to be what they need. You have to develop a solution for them. And if you think about your clients in terms of solutions,
Hmm.
you're going to win. If you
Yeah.
think of your clients in terms of, I got to sell them some stuff, nah, that's not what people buy. When they have pain, people buy to be like somebody else, because we got all these people out here who want to keep up with the Joneses, right? So there's
Right.
all kinds of reasons why people buy. People do impulse buys. People want to feel pretty, or they want to be strong, or why do people buy BMWs? Because it's the ultimate driving machine, right? They have
Sure.
marketed it so well that it's about how you feel behind the wheel of a BMW, right?
Right.
So you want to make people feel that way about your business, about what you sell, about what your solution is. And so that's why it's so important for you to get clear about that customer, and then clear about your plan. But let me tell you this, I believe in side hustling. I do never tell somebody to quit their job to start a business.
Right.
Never, ever, ever will you hear that come out of the small business lady's mouth. That's not what we do here. I want you to be a side hustler. I want you to work both jobs till it hurts.
Yep.
Honestly,
Yep.
until that second job is making real money. And do not cannibalize your paycheck job, because let's not get it twisted. You've got to make sure that if you have an opportunity, you need to keep that opportunity until you're ready to walk away. You don't want to be involuntarily walked out the door for silly stuff like using those people's copy machine to make your flyers for your new business, and then accidentally leaving it on there so the person that don't like you in the office gonna find your flyer on the copy machine. Don't do stuff like that. Get your own printer at home, so you don't want to be using any of their resources to promote your business. You just don't, because that's a great way to lose a job over something silly.
Yeah, I've seen it happen too, as having worked even as a uh, manager and supervisor in retail and in large association business. People take advantage of those resources, but they're messy most of the time. And people who really do well and get a good jump, you would have never known that they moved like a ninja like that in the dark. So, whenever you're creating your business, of course, it has to be thought through. But 12 months is definitely not the bar. It helps to take longer if you need to, especially if you're not sure, but you want to go out into the wilderness, but you don't know what animal to shoot. So,
Ah, yes.
so I think it's okay to take 12. I think 12 months, you're saying that this is before you even start selling the first widget. And
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's where we need to get clear. People think you're going to be successful in 12 months, that this is just the
No, this is
beginning.
the plan
This
before
is the
business.
plan
And a
before
lot of
execution.
time, the reason why people need 12 months, there's three reasons why the 12-month time frame is
Mhm.
important. Number
Yeah.
one, people need time to build their network, right? Or re-engage their network, because people do business with people that they like, know, and trust. So if people haven't heard from you in 3 years, your first engagement with them can't be, hey, I just started this brand new business. Will you buy from me? Oh, no, no. You need to re-engage. You need to send out some holiday cards. You need to call some people on the phone. You need to start having lunches and dinners and just reacquainting your network. The
Mhm.
second thing is that you might need industry experience. If you're starting a business that you don't have industry experience in, you might need to go work part-time, like a business like the one you want to start, so that you can
Right.
learn what it is to really run a restaurant or
Mhm.
run a bakery. Because a lot of times I've seen people, oh, I'm gonna start, I always wanted to start my own restaurant. Well, are you a chef? Are you great with customer service? Tell me why a restaurant? And by the way, restaurants go out of business 10% more than any other kind of business. But
Right.
again, I need you to know what it is to run a restaurant, at
Mhm.
least to work in one. So that's part of the 12-month time frame. But the biggest reason why it takes people 12 months is because they got to get their money straight. People don't realize this, but the money to start your business is going to come from your right or your left pocket. Banks
Mhm.
do not loan money to start a business. They don't do it.
Right.
They don't even want you until you don't need them, right?
Right.
So you've got to figure out how you're going to save more. Or you got to pay off all them doggone credit cards, because you're going to need that credit capacity as you
Mhm.
go into business. You're also going to need to figure out how you can become debt free. And I don't mean your mortgage needs to be paid off or your student loans, because those are really big debts, but I'm talking
Right.
about everything else. I'm talking about that car payment. I'm talking about certainly any other extraneous bills. You're going to need that credit capacity to launch your business. So you
Yes.
cannot start your business with a debt ball chasing you down the hill. You really can't afford that. And it's stressful. You always want to make decisions that are in the best interest of your business versus the
Mhm.
best interest of your bills. And so that's the reason why you need to get your credit score up, because you are your business's credit when you first start out in business. And really, once you even are in business, they're going to always run your personal credit. So please don't think you can have a credit in the 600s and be successful in business. That is not what it is. You got to get to that 700 score to really be safe and never be rejected for any reason. And so those are some of the things that you've got to think about as you are, building your plan to launch this business.
Mhm. Yes, and that's excellent advice. I feel that your book is going to be, or really, these are this has been several editions that you've had to
Oh
this book,
yeah, so this is
and so
actually
just to clear that
third.
for
This
everyone.
is the third edition. So this book
Mhm.
was originally published in 2010. My book has been out for 11 years,
Mhm.
sold over 100,000 copies in multiple languages around the world, and this is version 3. But this version is drastically different from any other version I've ever released, because I rewrote it specifically for the challenges that people were having during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we put all that stuff in there. You want to sell on Amazon? Okay, we got it in there. But did you know you got to know how to buy ads on Amazon? That's okay, because I got it in there, right? All the stuff that I saw people struggling with, this digital pivot stuff was really rough on people, because all of a sudden you had to sell online. And some people were set up to do that, and a lot of people weren't, because a lot of people don't even have decent websites. And
Yeah.
so you talking about you don't even have a good website, and then you don't have a good shopping cart experience and all this kind of stuff. You have to make sure that there is a frictionless process to get people's cash. That is what you've got to create on your website. And so these are the things that we talk about. But it starts with that customer. Who are you talking to? Understanding that. Then it's about social media and building a brand, because you build a brand and you market a product. And that's what I
Mhm.
need people to realize, is that anybody can sell something. But if you have a
Mhm.
brand, then you have a business, which is why branding is so important. Think about why big companies spend so much money on branding,
Yeah.
because they know that the Nike means something to somebody. They know
Yes.
Coca-Cola means something to somebody. Apple means something to somebody too, right? So all of these brands, they put so much money into building their brand, and you need to make sure that your brand is distinctive and that there's something
Yes.
people know about you. Like for me, I'm the small biz lady. My
Mhm.
mission is to end small business failure. And every
Mhm.
single thing I do is on mission, whether it's a book, whether it's this interview, whether it's the blogs that I put out each week on my blog, succeedasYourOwnBoss.com. I am on message. I don't deviate from it. And thus I become the loudest voice on the subject, right? That's how you become America's #1 small business expert. I mean, I've written over 5,000 articles about how to start and grow a successful small business in the last 10, 11 years.
Mhm.
So that gives me a seat where if somebody wants to talk about this, I am their resource that they reach out to. And I've been very blessed, but I've also been very intentional. I always ran my blog like it was a business from the very beginning, before anybody was paying me anything. I treated Twitter like a job, and I ran my blog like a business. And that's how I
Mhm.
built my brand and and I tell people all the time, I'm a spare room tycoon. I try to make as much money from my living room as possible. I don't like to go get on airplanes. I don't do a lot of keynote speeches around the country. I'm a single parent, so I have a son. I couldn't do 60 to 70 keynote speeches a year. So I do about 15 to 20. So when you see
Mhm.
me live, it's a big deal, because know that I do not do that. I don't do it a lot. So
I hear
I
you.
feel like I can serve my audience in other ways, and that's what I do.
I hear you, and I really appreciate that. Again, we're talking with Melinda Emerson, small business lady. She's really America's small business lady, but that's for another time, perhaps. I want to get you out of here on this last particular issue, and I think one of the things that people have to understand the differences, and I think you outlined somewhat the difference between running a business in 1999 and running a business. And when you began, it was about 1999,
Yeah.
and now today, 2021, a whole different century, and a couple decades later, here we are. For you, what is the one fundamental difference between then and now for you?
I think the biggest difference between starting a business 22 years ago and now is video marketing. Video
Hmm.
marketing has become so pervasive. I never would have thought in a thousand years that 15-second videos would become the thing everybody had to do to engage an audience, whether it's on Instagram Reels or TikTok or
Right.
YouTube Shorts. Like short form video has emerged as like
Hmm.
this thing that everybody's got to do. Like even I was fighting it for a while, and then I
Yeah.
realized that I could reach a whole new generation of folks if I started doing it. And so
The pandemic thrusted everybody into the video age pretty much. Even we had the red and green lights going off for a long time, for a number of years now, but
mhm.
the pandemic just ushered everybody into that stage of video.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's video marketing. I mean, there's so many things, but
Sure.
definitely online marketing, social selling, video marketing, like all of these things are very different. Back in the day, you like had to have a website.
Yeah.
You had to have a LinkedIn profile, maybe. That was it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
now it's like friend me, follow me. You got to post 2, 3 times a day. I mean, it's crazy, but it works. So you've got to figure out. The one thing I would tell people is when it comes to social media, pick one, maybe two sites to focus your efforts on, and it should
Hmm.
be the site where your best target customer spends time online. You
Yeah.
really shouldn't use Facebook because you like Facebook. You need to use Facebook because that's where your fish are. And
Yeah.
that's what you got to focus on. Because I see a lot of people out here doing 5 different social media sites. No, that doesn't even make sense. You really need to build a core audience on what platform and own platform before you move on to another one. That's what I did in the early days. I was the
Hmm.
queen of Twitter, and I didn't get off of Twitter for probably 2 years before we started working on another platform. So I was
Right.
very serious about it. And so if you want to build a tribe, if you will, a community, if you will, you got to pick one platform and you got to
Yeah.
work that platform.
Yes. So that's important. The I think for some people is LinkedIn. I particularly like LinkedIn, though I started on Twitter, but it took me about a year to really think it's okay for me to go out without getting shot at, so to speak. But all that to say is that people, when they concentrate on one and become successful at one, then they'll be fine ultimately. So I think in following you on Twitter, they could people still do that because you still have that. You have the podcast, Small Business Lady Chat. I believe
It's
that
Small Biz Chat. It's the
the
Small
Small
Biz
Biz Chat.
Chat podcast every
Uh,
Wednesday. Yep.
yep, and I remember the back in the day when it used to be a Twitter chat. That was a
Yeah.
really it
10
used to
and
be a
a half
really good.
years I hosted a tweet chat on Twitter every
And you
Wednesday.
didn't really miss any time, did you? At that time?
No, no.
Yeah.
I only took 3 weeks off a year. 4th of July week, Thanksgiving week, and the week in between Christmas and New Year's, we would take off. Other than that, you can find me live on Twitter every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. But again, it was about the discipline. I think a lot of times people ask me, how did I build up such a following? How did I build my business? I have been relentlessly consistent. And
Mhm.
that is the difference between somebody thinking about it and somebody being about it. It's like
Yes.
you have to show up the right way. I mean, even the opportunity with the New York Times, those people told me they read my blog for 1 year before they picked up the phone and called me. Think
Yeah,
about that.
that's it's a reminder that people are watching you, and they don't have to say anything to you, and you just got to value each person the way they should before they buy into you. So people want to get that value first before they initiate that contact with you. So that is a business lesson, and you have attended Melinda Emerson's masterclass. So, at least for now. I'm sure you got a bunch of press to do today, and I want to get you out of here. Again, your book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, has been released today. It's been on my table for at least the past month. So I appreciate that. For a copy, people can get your book at becomeyourownbossbook.com, and all the other stuff that comes along with it. If you just Google her, you'll find all the articles and things that she's written over the past 12 years or so. So thank you very much, Melinda, for joining me here on the Voice of Job Seekers Live. Appreciate it. And the rest of you, join me in a couple of weeks. Well, we'll be talking about compassionate leadership with Magali Renee. And I want to be sure that you set it up for September 20th. And that's going to be on a Monday, next Monday, in fact. And you'll see more information about it on LinkedIn and some of the other channels. Thank you very much, Melinda, for joining me. Thank the rest of you. Thanks for those of you, or the one person who gave us a shout out in the chat. Varsha, thank you. We appreciate it. Um, you all have a good day. Thank you very much.